divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father and Creator, the one God that I am referring to, each human that was born on this earth was carefully selectivized by the divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father and Creator that exists in the heavens, that consciously thought of and loved into existence, then chose to create an individual different than all other individuals. And this individual was put on earth, created by this divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father, was carefully selectivized by this God to be born in a certain place that requires, with his gifts that God bestowed upon this individual, this future religious worship leader, a spiritual guide, an individual that is to be very intelligent, educated in all possible ways about their own maintenance of physical health, knowledgeable about basic anatomy, referring to what their physicality is made up of, the main parts, the brain, each main function of the brain, which controls certain functions in the rest of the human physicality. Also, have to be educated in basic physiology, which functions, as just stated, the brain controls not only about human anatomy and physiology. This individual religious worship leader, this human representative of God, the divine, holy, loving God the Father, and his morally right words, definitions that are true, that are made carefully selectivized, consciously thought of by this divine, holy, loving God the Father and Creator, that were made and always exist in entire sentences to be used in proper context of what the word and its definition is intended to be used for, especially when applied to be used for God's morally right, good, just rules and laws that apply at all times, are inalienable, referring to they cannot be changed. are also inviolable. That means they cannot be violated. They must be respected at all times and abided by all. That includes by God, who has to abide by his own word, all his words, true words, his laws, his rules. He is morally obligated to do so at all times as the omnipotent, all knowing God that knows all and sees all in his entire universe. The God, keep in mind, judges all, everyone that he created, that he loved into existence, consciously thought of, to be put in a proper place at proper time with the physicality that was created in perfect health, with a life force that is a soul, brain, mind, thoughts, having thinking ability, referring to thoughts, a conscience, praying abilities, in thought, thinking part of the brain, mind, heart, and soul, virtues that are gifts of the spirit, memory abilities in a human, learning abilities, each uniquely selected by the divine, holy, almighty God, the loving Father, with a certain purpose in mind, a destiny that he cared so much for this one individual, a beloved of his creation that he consciously thought of, considered a lot of things, factors, to never leave this individual alone, to carefully thought of this holy loving God the Father considered other individuals that he loved into existence and also bestowed upon them out of his loving grace God given talents, learning abilities, memory skills, praying abilities, certain human reasoning abilities, certain individuals with certain looks, attributes that are proper to others who witness them, who view their facial features rather, speaking talents, those more inclined to listen to the needs of others, that have abilities to learn more than others in certain fields of study. These humans are the parents that were carefully selectivized by the divine, holy, loving God the Father and Creator. He took the time to see which individual this religious worship leader needed to be born in a certain place that required his assistance, his presence, his individual abilities, gifts, talents, learning abilities, use, knowledge rather, understanding and use, and free will of choice, having to, should this individual choose, even though morally obligated, to use these gifts and virtues, talents, learning abilities, speaking abilities, to maintain their physical health, this individual, to become a priest, a minister, a religious worship leader, a spiritual guide, an evangelist, a prophet, a bishop, archbishop, cardinal, vicar general, the pope, ministers of other religions, especially those of Christ respecting religions, those that individuals rather that choose to not forced to do, respect and practice the holy fear of Jesus Christ that exists in the heavens, God's Son, God's morally right ways, clean minded beliefs, ways to live their life, mannerisms to have, etiquette, to be considerate of others, their needs, to be aware that others exist than themselves, others of God's beloved creation, that require this individual, this human representative of God and his morally right words with true entire definitions, with entire sentences, as recently stated, that have to be respected, learned by all these religious worship leaders that exist, not only this one that God created, but all other ones of all other, especially Christ respecting religions. Each human has a physicality with a brain and the rest of their physical body, the neck, all that were cared for and respected by the two human earth angel parents. The mother, human earth angel mother of the future religious worship leader, the human representative of God and his morally right ways, laws, rules, words, good, morally right, clean minded, all beliefs. To summarize a few, this mother was carefully selectivized by the divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father. The priest, minister, the Pope, other religious worship leaders, they have to keep this in mind, are expected by God to do so, and all other humans with serious high level job titles, even volunteers, even those that do not make pay for doing their certain job, that God bestowed certain talents to them, not others, with a purpose, destiny for them to fulfill on earth, to be at the right place there, at the right time when others need them, to use their gifts that God loved these individuals so much of His creation, to carefully selectivize and give them these gifts and talents, learning abilities, physical, proper, pleasing to other attributes, viewable to others, speaking abilities, singing abilities, for example, praying abilities, understanding of what their virtues are and how they are to be used within them selflessly without expecting anything in reward or anything in return from mercifully from the kindness and compassion of their pure soul of thought, heart, and mind when they take the time to consider their brain and physical health to be healthy as properly they can maintain it as they can, then their physicality is a proper temple for their gifts, talents, virtues, praying abilities, functions that this divine, holy, loving God the Father bestowed upon them out of His loving, holy grace. It is their choice on earth, conscious choice. They have free will, God given free will of choice, to use these gifts, talents, praying abilities, virtues, to be patient, kind, compassionate towards others, to listen attentively to those in need, and use what they have gifts to learn, rather to use what they learned others couldn't, and to be there at a proper place and time to help someone that is in need of their use of these talents. And then, when physically healthy, well rested, after these human representatives of God on earth, the priests, ministers, the Pope, those of all other religious, different Christian major, minor denominations of all different religions, the worship leaders, out of respect have to of their mother that took the time all the years to consciously think of and respect her efforts, the time she valuable under has invested to be healthy and thought of before having this human earth angel, priest, minister, pope, or religious worship leader, earth angel, the mother, when she took the time for 9 long months to care for her own physical health, and the infant, future religious worship leader, human earth angel, baby in the womb for 9 long months, a very long time, respected this little infant, made sure it had a healthy brain and organs, carefully ate food, had a respect of herself and another life, brain, mind, soul, and the little infant, to respected its God-given dignity for all that it is made up of, all that it is worth, and consider that this is an infant that she would care for, especially if it's healthy, which she cared to make sure as best can to be born healthy, and raised still approximately 20 years old with proper time taken invested to work, to have funding, to find a husband, the father, human earth angel father, that is emotionally compatible with her genetically and in all ways to get along with and to have enough money saved. The efforts of these two individuals, the father that cared for his, respected his own health, chose to live a clean minded, morally right, healthy life, even before married and before having the child, during and throughout the years when raising the child after it's born. The child, the human earth angel, selectivized by God, the loving Holy Father, to be his loved into existence human representative of him, a little human child already in brain, abilities learning that others don't have put on earth. When God looked down on earth to see where this individual is needed on earth to be born in a proper place at a certain time and throughout the years will be needed, would be, and then there present when needed to be there to do its job, to fulfill its purpose, its destiny on the earth as a little, then throughout the years learned, has gifts bestowed. This infant already, as stated as well, the mother, human earth angel, the father, earth angel, that helped raise this individual. This individual has to respect, keep in mind, all its life too is judged within by God. continuously Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. This individual has to keep in mind and respect those others that raised it, invested their hard earned time, valuable on earth, money, resources, providing food and shelter for this individual, future worship leader, human earth angel, representative human of the loving holy God the Father and creator's morally right ways, good right beliefs, clean minded ways, beliefs, etiquette, and mannerisms that when they physically are healthy, that these individuals that they have to keep in mind, even human earth angel friends that God carefully selectivized to put on earth study buddies, human earth angel study buddies, friends in classes, loved pets with souls, emotions, virtues, personality that cared, loved this individual, invested the time to take care of it, to make sure that it is safe, never left alone, continuously cared for and or as needed by these individuals, foster parents, if they have human earth angel foster parents, human earth angel caregivers, godparents. Those are human earth angel godparents, teachers. All are gifts carefully selectivized by the holy, loving God the Father for this one little individual to get along with emotionally and in every way to provide it with means for individuals, these human earth angels, not holy angels with holy supernatural powers, but individuals of the flesh on the earth, on the part on the of the world, individuals carefully selectivized by the holy, loving God, the Father and Creator, to help raise, nurture, to teach in all morally right ways. An intelligent individual, very knowledgeable of the basic life sciences, to make sure it is healthy, well rested, growing new cells, to keep in mind until it's approximately 20 years old, to make sure that made sure it had a proper safe place to live, to sleep, for its physicality and brain to be at normal temperatures to function. Keeping in mind this is the individual that will be there for others to prevent or relieve the suffering of others, that will be using its knowledge, its God given talents, gifts from this holy loving God the Father, carefully selectivized and bestowed upon them out of his loving holy grace, resulted to them learning abilities others don't have, memory abilities, memorizing information abilities on the side of anatomy, basic human anatomy, physiology. An individual that is aware and considerate, that aware of others rather, and considerate of others, when they are physically healthy themselves to do so, that choose, not forced to do, by free will of choice, to be physically healthy, well educated, well rested, respectful of those all just stated, that God gave them as gifts, carefully selectivized to help make sure they're healthy. Parents, educators, teachers at all levels, elementary, high school, university, colleges, seminaries, educators at other religious worship schools, those in convents, monasteries, is stated for the ones that are chosen to be nuns and choose to do that job. And then in the convents and elsewhere, monks in monasteries and elsewhere, those with high level education higher than the priests that choose to further study become a bishop, archbishop, cardinal, vicar generals, those dealing with office of spiritual affairs have to be very intelligent and wise, very educated. They have to use all their virtues. They have to understand what their virtues are for, what their praying abilities are for. They have to know to respect their own self as those that invested the time that raised them, taught them how to do, and their hard earned limited time on earth that they took to teach this individual how to respect themselves and others, their own God given dignity, a respect for all their worth, such a valuable life, their physicality, all that they're made up of, their God given talents, gifts, virtues, praying abilities, life force, soul, mind. The Holy God, the Father, that exists, the loving Father and Creator, that created them, their physicality, and all that they are, that belongs to God entirely, that has to be respected and kept well rested, healthy, properly attired in clothing. This individual has to keep their physicality clothed appropriately to and respectful of their own physical health. Out of respect of them, God, their physicality and all that they are that belong to God, their dignity for all their worth, a valuable life, and to be ethically treated right themselves, to consciously think of this throughout their life, to respect those that God carefully put on earth as gifts, human earth angel parents, educators, other religious worship leaders that taught them right, loved pets, loved friends, loved study buddy, all human earth angels. The pets are separate, are earth angels as well. These individuals in this video for this purpose, I speak, please keep in mind and listen, and please do a selfless, merciful act to share this information when physically well rested, To all those in religious office, religious worship leaders in the whole world, those making pay especially to them, those volunteering as religious worship leaders, the Pope. Keep in mind that all these individuals, religious worship leaders such as priests, ministers, Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican, Lutheran is still practice, Muslim, Buddhist, Islamic, Orthodox, Greek, Russian Orthodox, other Orthodox religious worship leaders, Jewish rabbis, those of the Roman Catholic religion, Catholic, especially those of the major and minor Christian religions, the religious worship leaders. Their physical health, physical temple, their physicality is stated that belongs to God. Every cell, atom, molecule, their DNA, RNA, tiny little cells, brain, mind, praying abilities, in thoughts, mind, heart, and soul, memory abilities, education abilities. God bestowed upon them gifts, talents, virtues, gifts of the Spirit, all their organs, their entire physicality, life for the natural ability to die, and soul, all belong to God at all times. Keep in mind, every human is monitored, judged within continuously while alive by God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Everyone is continuously judged within while alive. All their life are expected to be of clean mind, physically healthy as possibly can, because these religious worship leaders are going to be viewed by others that have a physicality, brain, mind, organs, the brain that controls the sensory organs of vision, such as the eyes. These individuals have to respect themselves and, as stated, all their lives to keep in mind in their thoughts those that created them, the parents, the mother in the womb that cared for, respected their health, dignity, life, safety, welfare, those that raised them, as recently stated, for 20 long years, invested their hard earned time, and made sure that this religious worship leader was healthy and well educated and was then physically healthy, well rested, to when should the individual choose by free will of choice, not forced by God to do or anyone else or anything. To think, then have intent of to consciously think and choose to accept this job when stating this to a potential employer, a bishop, depending who employs the certain religious worship leader, especially if they are going to receive pay rather, to accept a paycheck for doing a certain job. They can only use their talents that God carefully selectivized for them, as it is a serious matter. The holy loving God exists in the heavens. He is omnipresent, stated in his creation. No one gets away with anything. He cared and took the time carefully to selectivize each individual to be put on earth and those that raised them, and then to those that guided them, put the efforts in 20 long years while they were growing new cells and learning. In every level study, the teachers as well. In the seminaries, those educators, higher level studies, those in teach in the for the nuns, the ones that teach the monks, those that teach the individuals to become bishops, archbishops, cardinals, vicar generals, the Pope, Jewish rabbis, Islamic world religious leaders, worship ones, Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, and any other of the Christian, Christ respecting religions, evangelists, prophets, exorcists, deliverance ministers. These individuals God loved into existence and as stated, put all these gifts of human earth angels and others with souls and lives that it chose as well by free will to help nurture, guide this human earth angel baby, child, toddler, teenager, then individual that is consciously choosing to accept a job title to think of before employed have to that they are being judged when they consciously think of accepting this title to consider have to all those that raised them, any others that help them, family members, siblings, human earth angel siblings, their time invested, money to help them learn for studies, might have helped pay for emotionally that got along with them, grandparents, great grandparents, cousins, godparents, caregivers, foster parents, all the pets, educators. Before employed, they have to consider this to respect all those 20 years of time and money that they had on earth and efforts to care for and respect a life other than themselves, that they taught to respect themselves, this individual, and others in all morally right ways, clean minded beliefs, to have etiquette, proper, good on God's right side, proper physical mannerisms, to act accordingly proper in front of others, to keep in mind that others do exist than themselves, to be educated in all ways of physical health, anatomy, and physiology basic to so they know and to promote to others about the physical proper health of their physical temple that belongs to God, that they have to care for and respect their brain and physical health, emotional health and well-being, their personality, brain, mind, thoughts, then it's proper a temple for their soul, gifts, virtues, talents as stated. to speak using their God given talent. To keep this in mind, it is a talent that some others don't have, to publicly speak, that is, to speak in front of others, courage, intelligence, wisdom, to have of all those to consider when choosing to accept this job, and to keep in mind that they are judged. It is recorded in every human thoughts, with their thoughts, intents, in their heart and soul. They have the conscious thinking what is right from wrong. This is a serious job to consider as well. They have to keep in mind before choosing employment as a priest or religious worship leader of a different religion, the Pope, and any all other humans in other job descriptions, to keep in mind that God selectivized them to be there at a certain place, to work at a certain, say, church, worship place. Outside of it, a volunteer. If they're going to make pay, they have to consider this, to choose by free will, not coerced by anyone, to consciously think through and choose, then intend to speak, verbally communicate to another individual employer that has a big job to assess this individual, potential future religious worship leader, pope, priest, minister, exorcist, evangelist, prophet, nun, monk, Jewish rabbi, Islamic, Buddhist, Dalai Lama, Muslim, Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican, Lutheran, and any other, Catholic, Roman Catholic, Orthodox, religious worship leader, a human representative of the divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father that exists in heaven and is morally right, words with true entire sentence definitions that have to be used in proper context at a proper time, at a respect of themselves and others and the order of the universe. Morally right, good, and just God, but that has superior authority to God. They have to respect and practice holy fear of this God at all times in his ways, morally right, rules to respect, and laws with exact definitions to be used in proper time and place that their job description entails. That they, as a human representative of God and all his words, true, that exist, inalienable, that are not changeable, that are inviolable, that is referring to cannot be violated and cannot be disrespected. They have to be abided by. These rules, exact rules and laws, by this individual, the employer has to assess if this future human earth angel, priest, minister, human representative of God, the loving Father, a human one with brain, soul that others raised, invested their limited, valuable time on earth and efforts, and assisted throughout their 20 years. If this individual will do their job, will fulfill their purpose, destiny, using their God given, bestowed upon talents out of his loving holy grace, resulted to this individual over other candidates, to assess if this individual is telling the truth, that they would do a good job, and follow up on this individual. The hiring employer, bishop, higher level staff of each religion the Pope, those having the paychecks, the money, rather given to these individuals to follow up if these individuals are doing their job, as just stated, as a human representative of God, the divine, holy, loving God the Father, that they know to respect and practice holy fear of to do right in all possible ways that were taught to be a good example this way, physically healthy, well rested, out of respect all that raised them, God, their physical health, their temple that belongs to God and all of them, all of that belongs to them, as stated, their human God given dignity, a respect for all their worth, a valuable life, physically to be respected for all that they are and ethically treated right, for them to remember this and to promote it to others, to promote physical health and safety well being, to be educated about current up to date bioethics laws, that is, referring to life respecting laws, health and safety well being, and the laws that go along with this, current, to be up to date about this on earth, the priests, ministers, pope, all other religious worship leaders, all others and other job titles as well that have to be up to date, current with this knowledge. These human representatives of God on earth, physical beings, human earth angels with a purpose. They are put on earth then if they choose to accept the job, are judged within, and have to act accordingly. Do their job. If they are not going to do, their life to keep in mind affects potentially 100 in a parish, say Roman Catholic Church, 1,000 in some ones with a bigger basilica or cathedral that they are employed to deal with a certain size parish, congregation of individuals. Each individual is a human earth angel with a purpose that God carefully selectivized. They have to keep in mind their choice, consciously chosen, is judged by God continuously. They have to have a physical temple that's healthy, well rested, a proper appearance, proper mannerisms, to think of these priests, ministers, pope, especially bishops, archbishops, those with a bigger viewing audience, the Dalai Lama, those of all major, especially Christ respecting religions, religious worship leaders, have to be educated about nature as well. Very intelligent and wise, speak only words with true meaning according to God, and help those that need it in proper timing, as their job description entails them to do. To use their virtues only when physically healthy and dress appropriately. They have to be educated and to please share this to others. To keep in mind their physical, the physical, the clothing. Someone started this wrongly many years ago. For a human priest, religious worship leader, the Pope, bishop, archbishop, cardinals, vicar generals, The ones Protestant Presbyterian ministers, certain exorcists, Roman Catholic priests, Catholic, Jewish rabbis, nuns, monks, evangelists, prophets, Anglican worship leaders, Islamic Buddhists, Hindu religious worship leaders, and others to wear heavy clothing like gowns and even many layers that don't circulate air flow through them, have harmful dyes in them, coloring, that are harmful also to human vision, the colors, especially some that are gold, silver, bronze, metallic colors that reflect light as if off a metal surface, are harmful to the vision of others. Colors such as green, that are viewed by others that are human earth angels, pets with vision, sensory receptor organs such as eyes, insects, birds, other living creatures that happen to view them. These individuals, even after recorded on video or live, viewed the clothing is harmful to others' vision. These individuals have to be educated, taught early on in schools to use what they learned, to please share to all that intend to be priests, ministers, the Pope, other religious worship leaders that are human representatives of the divine, holy, almighty, loving God the Father, and His clean, morally right ways, physical health to maintain proper, a temple, physical, proper then for their soul, gifts, virtues God bestowed upon out of love, and His holy loving grace, talents, gifts, functions, education, learning abilities, basically to use, praying abilities of thought, mind, heart, and soul, being aware of others and considerate of the needs of others, that they are trained and taught by carrying human earth angel individuals that help raise them to respect, to learn what is taught usually, maybe late high school, in certain physiology classes or in higher level studies in college or university. Unfortunately, it is taught. It is not easy, but the summarized sentences are that I'm stating the basic information is not that difficult to learn. To find individuals who have studied this, doctors can collaborate, human earth angel doctors, nursing staff, even some students well educated in high school, college, university, if they make it there, lecturers, professors of these in medical and other nursing colleges, schools, universities, to collaborate with the priests. There are many parishioners that individuals that are medical staff but have failed to assist these priests if needed and collaborate information basic that they learned and were had their keep in mind human earth angel parents carefully select devised by God. The loving Father gave them talents to raise them as human earth angel individuals who had learning abilities others don't, for more oriented to understanding learning also human anatomy, what the human physicality and brain is made up of, each cells, atoms, molecules, organs, the brain, physiology, what parts of the brain control which bodily functions, human basic nutrition, which food, vitamins, minerals, water needed for a human, how much for their health to be proper of brain and physicality, their body. These things are learned in high school and some in higher level colleges stated. The priests are to be educated about these basic things, but it hasn't been promoted over many centuries to all priests to learn. According to what I lived through, was taught in Canada, but according to basic curriculum, was taught maybe through middle of high school if it's not easy to learn biology, learn about living cells, some basic anatomy parts of the brain, body functions, skeletal structure, heart, basic organs, what the cells are. Further, molecular and cellular biology is taught more in college or university, what each atom molecule of the cells of human are made up of. Then applied nutrition, basic human nutrition course of what foods basically contain these certain fruits and vegetables or food items that contain certain vitamins and minerals that keep in mind are made up of these little atoms, molecules, each different ones. That humans need these vitamins and minerals little amino acids, especially different ones with different names, made up of these little atoms, molecules, each different to from in where the protein breaks down to these little amino acids, which build almost make up each all different cells, all different ones in the part of the brain, organs. For example, this is these are things but summarized that medical staff, even students that are good at it, are only few taught that I actually easily learn or understand this. But most humans, if they could summarize it, even those in high school, students don't have to be doctors, could help with this to tell in their parish sites to the parish priests rather. These days it's modern day, they have the worship parish sites, such as a Roman Catholic church parish belongs to, there's their website. The ones for archdiocese higher level bishop sites that have the different sites of each Catholic church. They have associated schools with almost the same or might have the same name. The ones of other religions, the Pope, his Vatican site, other sites. They could find humans or human earth angels with a purpose. This to be promoted was to be by the priest as well. Ministers, the Pope, number one. This was neglected by almost all popes for many centuries. Unfortunately, those and they were wearing different items of clothing that someone started that are harmful to human health, that misinformed one and was wearing in another war, but we're wearing these and harm the health, but not really thinking we're struggling, reacting against it, paying money that they're poor, when poor, rather, they're not required to purchase. Church offerings were made by the poor parishioners, lay people. Those are referring to the individuals, humans that are of God's beloved creation, that are not the religious worship leaders, but the followers. Clean mind disciples, as if of Christ. Disciples, followers of Jesus Christ that existed, stated years ago, lived on the earth, suffered what he didn't deserve to suffer on earth, died, and went to the heavens. He stated his word true. He cannot go back on that. He would never leave anyone alone to suffer anything being affected by that they do not deserve to suffer according to God, his holy Father, loving Father, and Creator. Against their free will, that they do not deserve to suffer being affected by beyond their control. He stated he and his chosen, he is his choice to make, even from heaven, but exists and has it to be stated that humans pray to him and mentioned to him, that is, within thought, mind, heart, and soul, when physically well rested they had, and respectful of all that raised them, that God carefully selectivized and put on earth to respect others, to be a good physical example, be physically healthy and well rested, to dress appropriately, In physical attire, that is also these individuals, human representatives of God on earth, priests, minister, pope, and of those of all religious other different religions, that is, the worship leaders, to keep in mind that others exist and that of God's beloved creation that have a physicality, that their mother cared for in womb and the father cared for the health, invested 9 long months. Others that God carefully selectivized the Holy Father with gifts for them to be human earth angels of any all different job titles, to be there for someone, a friend, a parent, foster parent, caregiver. Someone might be there, put on earth and choose to save another human's life. Medical professional, doctor, a priest, human representative of God and his morally right ways and laws, promoter of physical health, safety, well being, up to date, current, and any spiritual, further emotional advice, counseling, according to God, stated as if God would counsel the holy loving Father, someone on earth, any advice that they need, assistance, someone there for them, a prayer for them to God, in the heart, soul, then stated to God, this individual on their behalf for resulted miraculous healing or protection supernaturally, that God then has to act accordingly in proper timing when needed for this individual that they prayed selflessly for an intercessory prayer to cause the resulted out of his loving holy grace resulted to them miraculous healing and protection as needed immediately, and or supernatural healing or protection, defenses, exorcism resulted healing and protection when needed, deliverance, that the holy, divine, almighty, loving God the Father has the actual holy, supernatural, beyond nature powers to accomplish this. For an individual, that this human representative on earth was there of God, this representative human earth angel, priest, minister, pope, evangelist, prophet, seer, those of the other religions, Jewish rabbi, Protestant, Presbyterian ministers, Anglican ministers, Greek, Russian, and other Orthodox religious worship leaders in the world, the Buddhist, the Dalai Lama, the Muslim, Islamic, Hindu, any other, especially in Catholic and Roman Catholic priests, bishops, archbishops, cardinals, vicar generals, those working in office of spiritual affairs that deal with more serious cases of individuals that require God's assistance, serious soul spirit from having to do with the soul counseling, as if God was there present in the human, but the human is so educated, respectful of those that raise them to use after the 20 years of their human earth angels that God put on earth as gifts for them to support them, to teach, educate them, rate them, to raise them rather, as a human representative of this God loving Father. They're standing there as if the Holy Father standing there is a human, but they're speaking carefully, thought of his right words, laws, and rules with meaning, using their gifts best they can when healthy, to virtues, to patiently listen, and then educatedly use what they learned to give advice, be there for someone important, to not leave them alone, to do what they can in their job description to find someone to help them immediately and as needed, to refer them to another individual that they know of higher office or other office, a medical professional in the community, someone they know, to make sure they are safe haven on holy ground when needed, a humane building place though, with when needed, to respect this on the earth in proper timing. These individuals, priests, others, and Pope especially, have to keep in mind all these things while they're employed. Before they're employed, their employers are all continuously judged within. If they fail to act according to these ways and promote a good example, feel physical proper health while rested, and fail to dress appropriately in front of others, they cannot make pay. They cannot do their job, even a quasi-volunteer position as a priest, minister, the Pope, the bishop, archbishop, cardinal, vicar general, any in office of spiritual affairs, a nun, a monk, evangelist, prophet, an exorcist, a deliverance minister, Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican ministers, the Dalai Lama, those in the Buddhist religion, religious worship leaders, Islamic, Jewish rabbis, Hindu, and any other of any especially Christ respecting religion, these religious worship leaders of these religions. These have to respect themselves and think of how they want to be respected and right to be, and all their physicality to promote proper health example, and their clothing, what they wear, and how they act with it to others, how they act in front of others, their mannerisms, carefully chosen, thought of, respectful of those that raised them, those that educated them, many long years, humans with souls. God carefully took the time, selectivized with gifts to put them as gifts for these individuals to help guide, raise, educate them, and are morally obligated, these priests, pope, and other religious worship leaders, to think of consciously respect these individuals at all times when doing their job. To remember physical health, they have no right, especially when they know to misinform anyone else of God's beloved creation. They are all human earth angels with a purpose, a soul, brain, mind, organs, life force, praying abilities, virtues, carefully selectivized gifts, talents, learning abilities, carefully chosen by this God, the loving, holy God, the Father and Creator, that these priests and ministers, Pope, have to remember, and everyone please share to others, a selfless, merciful act you can do to remind everyone on this earth about this and get it to the Pope, this information, please. The clothing, someone, as I stated recently, of this individual physicality of this priest or minister that has to respect the time that this holy loving God carefully selectivized and took the time rather to selectivize this priest human to be in a certain place at time a priest to do this job that this priest chose, or pope, religious worship leader, to chose consciously to accept this job over other candidates, and has to do his job there in the community, one say in a city, perhaps in a county or in a country, is the only one that's God's representative there. God took the time to make sure this individual born with proper parents and all raised for 20 long years. This human has to be dressed appropriately, respectful, considerate, and wear clothing that is proper to their physical health, their temple, their brain physicality that belongs to God. They were taught to dress appropriately. Some further studies keep in mind mostly high school or university, but please share to teach to younger people. The priests have to promote physical health, basic knowledge, and can have to put on their sites religious worship sites, parish sites, Catholic, overall religions, the Pope. A human earth angel have mandated this already. It is a serious matter. Those educated in the matters, please do a selfless, merciful act and educate the priests, current ones, remind them so they share it to their parishioners. Most are devout, practicing, and holy fear of Jesus Christ, the holy God first before that, and his morally right ways, laws, rules, clean mind ways, etiquette, and beliefs, and the Holy Spirit that exists in heaven. Human earth angels that consciously choose to respect these beliefs and ways and these holy in the heavens, their physical temple that God carefully put on earth, loved into existence with a holy purpose, a purpose that he loved into existence, loved into existence their gifts, talents, praying abilities, virtues, so valuable to this holy, loving God, the Father, because he carefully took time to select the ones that raised them. These humans have some have job titles, some don't, some are volunteers. They are all put on earth in proper place and time and are expectant rather of these priests, Pope, ministers in all religions, the Dalai Lama, all Jewish rabbis, the leaders in Islam, worship leaders, the ones Hindu, Muslim, Roman Catholic, priests, bishops, archbishops, cardinals, vicar generals, all are expected to treat others as they want to be with respect, their physicality. They are viewed by others to remember this, their physical health, their eyes. Mainly view these individuals on the earth what the priests and pope and other religious worship leaders are wearing. They have to have clothing that is proper, that circulates air, oxygen properly through the clothing to the skin. The skin, keep in mind, is an organ, has many skin cells, requires oxygen to go through the skin for human to have proper health. The clothing that most priests over the years, someone started wrongly on earth, or was not woven material that circulate enough oxygen through the material, which resulted in priests, ministers, and pope and wearing lots of layers, which limits air circulation, results in skin building up, having even the skin normal greases on the skin, The skin is not healthy. There's an organ, then the internal organs, the blood becomes not healthy, not oxygenated enough. The human lacks oxygen, blood in the blood then flow to the brain and heart, lungs, and suffers organ damage resulted from it. There were humans reacting against this on the earth, priests and others wearing these for years struggling, but didn't think of that it was harming their health, but were suffering organ damage that they couldn't heal. And they were expected to what they learned, and those that raised them in high school long years learned basic biology and things are expected as stated to learn these things to set a good example physically for others so they don't misinform others, priests, religious worship leaders, the pope that have truly the pope himself that has the most followers, viewers. In one session online, the Pope has potentially more than trillion humans with a soul human earth angels viewing him at a time and on the news. Children, old people, disabled people, beyond trillions of priests, ministers, other world religious worship leaders, animals with a vision, sensory organs, eyes, then are that are connected to the brain and the rest of the physicality and nervous system, heart mainly, that view these individuals and they each have a soul. These are human earth angels with a purpose to keep in mind by these priest, pope, other religious worship leaders, their employers to monitor these ones on their sites. There are trillions of websites of each parish in every religion on earth online. They monitor them. It should not be practicing in any worship in any church basilica that has closed windows with not enough air circulating and removing breathe out human CO2 and animals. Hard wooden pews and any sacramentals that are harmful to color with colors of vision, candles with flames or that are not allowed to be lit, not allowed to use matches because they're harmful to human health. Physical temple of human earth angels with God given gifts, talents they need to be healthy to use, to help others, to prevent health of failing of others, to do their job, to be a mother for a child, an owner for a pet, earth angel, a doctor, earth angel, the world leader, earth angels, veterinarian, earth angels, teacher, earth angels of future, human earth angel children. These all and priests know to set a good example to close all worship places that are not proper to human health. If they do not, they are not respecting God's rules. They cannot make pay. They have sinned, and when they consciously know and don't close the doors of huge churches with doors that are 10 meters high and no one can physically easily open without hard strain, when it's too cold or warm to travel to and pollute environment to get there and harm the plants, valuable life that release air for all living creatures above and below ground and in the sea and everywhere, and for all children, human, disabled, old people, and other living creatures, plants, nature that exists on Earth, limited air. These have a valuable life, soul, earth angel, plants grow better spoken to. These plants, trees, leaves, grass have to be these priests educated about, promote to others to respect these on earth, to make sure if it's far to travel to any church that is deemed harmful to human or any other living creature health, with huge steps, not easy to walk up, that are harmful to physical health, to open doors after long distance to travel to on Sundays are not allowed to be traveled to, out of respect of human life and health, brain and physical health. Their temple, that physicality that belongs to God. The gifts that they have, keep in mind, are respected of these humans. These priests have to respect the followers, especially the Christ respecting ones, Catholics, and all of those in all major and minor Christian respecting religions. The Pope is a human representative of God and respect chooses of his morally right ways and laws to promote to others physical health and well-being, respect themselves that way, to be educated about the basic life bioethics, respecting laws of nature as well, animals, insects, to be aware that they exist and promote this to others. With their God given talents others don't have of speaking, public speaking, and online, anywhere that they are mandated, expected according to their job description to do this. If they choose not to, they cannot make pay, cannot accept employment as a priest, minister, pope, or anyone in any religious worship leader job. The Dalai Lama cannot make pay as well. Anyone who ministers in any religion, any exorcists, deliverance ministers, nuns, monks, those teaching in seminaries, the lecturers, professors, assistant professors, high school teachers, elementary school teachers, anyone that is a human earth angel that has to raise and educate these individuals when they choose also cannot make pay. Other individuals, secretaries, human earth angel secretaries with gifts have to go along with God's morally right ways and these laws. To expect it to save the priest is not doing the job to close worship places harmful to health doors. Then he or she have to are morally obligated by law to turn them into the employer immediately, to assess this individual if they're going to choose to do a job as human representative of God and morally right ways and laws. Etiquette to close the doors. If they don't, then they have to be fired immediately and hire someone that cares, so they don't misinform anyone and do not cause resulted bodily harm to others of God's beloved creation, human earth angels, nature earth angels, plant earth angels, humans of other job earth angels, with a serious purpose that God loved them so much, took the time to put in a proper place and time beyond trillions on the earth, that are there for others, that expect their health to be respected by these priests, minister, pope, and all kinds of other religious worship leaders. For them and the secretaries are judged within as well. No one gets away with anything under God. Everyone, keep in mind, brain, mind, heart, soul, thoughts, intents, actions are judged within all their life continuously while alive. If they think to choose to not do their job that God carefully and took the time gave them gifts for, that they chose and told an employer they would do a job proper but don't, out of other candidates that could have done the job and helped others that are need purpose put there for, a secretary, a priest, the ministers, the pope, then these humans have committed a serious sin against all those that they are to help, that they have chosen not to disrespect in any of these ways. Those that raised them 20 years, the parents, the mother in the womb, their valuable time and efforts as stated. Everyone is expected to remember all these things I stated, not only priests and those world leaders, and how they attire themselves, how they dress. They have to dress accordingly in the way that they dress. Anything that is harmful to human vision, keep in mind, human eyes, tissues cannot be healed. There are no miraculous healers currently on earth. The Pope, keep in mind, is not a miraculous healer. The only one that can perform healings with the thought and mind abilities resulted with God's holy loving grace is God that exists in heaven and those that He created and commands to certain individuals to think and result in holy loving miraculous healing out of the thought abilities of resulted holy loving grace of God, supernatural or protection when they choose, consciously choose, have to choose, think consciously rather, and choose to accept this healing and protection. Physical health by these priests, minister, and pope, even nuns, monks, anyone, especially if they, and those that they have to remember that raised them, mother, and anyone who took the time, effort to teach them to speak with their talents on earth. That God put a gift of these people, these humans, earth angels, to help teach them this. The nuns, have to, everyone, please do a selfless, merciful act, one will rest, to tell them to, if they still wear these, don't have to wear any black head coverings of materials, especially made of harmful black, almost paint or dyes, that doesn't allow any air circulated through the material, oxygen. As stated again, tell these humans and anyone in other religions that I know of, maybe the Jewish rabbis who are black, priests, ministers, others, the Pope might wear black, sometimes dress shirts, pants, to make sure to tell them to, out of consideration of oneself and what you learn and those that raised you, do a selfless act of mercy, kindness, and compassion for these individuals, and please share to the whole world, to these individuals, so that they know and set a good example for others, and so that their health is not harmed anymore. That they, when are informed and supposed to be practicing this all the time, to be taught. And this was supposed to be promoted in all seminaries where they teach priests and other ministers and others of other religious worship schools, high school, elementary, university, to be taught, tell to those who make the curriculums of even children, anyone, to put on every religious parish site immediately for humans to, these priests, representatives of God on earth, have to, when people view them, to keep in mind if some priests every Sunday or daily mass online is 100 to 1,000 viewers or more, potentially trillions, depending who tunes in online for an hour, have eyes, tissues that can't be healed. They view these individuals, have a soul, emotions, the viewers, Christ mostly respecting individuals and God of God, Holy Spirit, that have a purpose as stated on earth. Human earth angels, owners of parent pets, have health proper, their vision as long as they can, that they cannot heal. They cannot be offended in any way. They react mostly against humans and the soul. Everyone is judged. So the priests and ministers, everyone have to respect that these individuals have to dress appropriately, Anything that was a big gown, especially thick woven, offended others. Keep in mind, they strained their heart, seeing how individuals holding the sacrament, any harmful to health movements that the priests did, mostly Roman Catholic for years, that were not required by God to do, but did. They had the soul into meanings of it, but no one told them on earth that they were never required to harm their heart health, travel, pollute environments, suffocate, damage with toxic chemicals the grass, trees, plants, leaves, branches, that release the air for all living insects with soul, brain, minds, emotions, lungs, birds, below, above ground, sea creatures, the water, and the air, resulted in pollution, higher temperatures on Earth, damaged the ozone layer, harmful UVA, UVB, UVC rays from the sun, radiation, or any other rays, depending what it is, from space to the Earth are not allowed to pass through the ozone layer, affected the Earth. The priests were supposed to prevent this on Earth. Ministers, the Pope, all religious worship leaders to focus on this, teach it in seminaries, to dress appropriately and to make sure these buildings were not opened, created anymore. Churches, basilicas with closed windows that don't open, circulate, don't air. Once the plants were damaged, humans poisoned with gas, poor working for gas to go to Sunday masses were never required to do by God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, Holy Mary. These were to respect these priest ministers, to tell everyone to stay home and rest on God's day of rest on Sundays, Saturdays, Friday night, to rest their physicality that belongs to God, human, earth angel physicalities, pet, other animal, earth angels, to respect the nature that is there, have a purpose, grass to release air, have a life and soul, free will of choice, for that choice to be respected of God, serious matter, to be not polluted, affected by toxic chemicals of gas fumes, smoke of any kind from gas vehicles driven by humans to the churches, to any basilicas, to mosques, to Jewish synagogues, to any churches there in the holy sites in Jerusalem, and any holy other sites in the world that are already deemed not proper to human health by health and safety boards, out of respect of bioethics laws, that is, life respecting laws of organisms, humans, and humans that are made of living cells, the grass, plants, required for plants to grow, require clean oxygen as well, taking all breathe out air from the animals, insects, above, below ground, in the water, all bodies of water, to be respected and not polluted by those that respect God and Jesus and Holy Spirit. Their physical health, earth angels that are there put on earth, God took the time to give them gifts, born in proper place at time to be there for someone else. Long years as a parent, some time to save a life, to be a priest, to educate people about this and promote this on earth. Respect of oneself and be aware of others, considerate of others. Humans, nature, plants, above sea, below sea, basic info. Respect of living creatures with a life, a soul, emotions, personality, those that have it. Living creatures have virtues, insects, those small but have pain, injury, if injured, that is, are in pain, suffering. Humans not to walk on the grass ever. to the leaves fall off trees to put in the soil so they live that much longer. Vitamins have a valuable life still. No children to play with leaves throwing them. When no to tell them will be happy to know have a soul that someone cared enough to teach them right, to respect the living life, have released air from the leaves, food for the animals, leaves, bushes, trees, grass, all to be remembered. They have choice, care, the most respect of all. They were God carefully taught and selected as each one, and for owners to grow on their properties and everywhere to remember proper fertilizer to take care of them, to make sure they have enough place sun on them. They function with sunlight. They care enough and love everyone to respect, and they choose to be respected and right to be. Their God given dignity, choices. Everyone is judged how they treat the grass, the plants, the flowers. The plants with the food can only grow when they need it. Respect the life, their organs, and how they cook them after prepare right away and not waste them. They have rights choice to the vegetables, fruits of the plants only to be taken when needed and then used right away to not be wasted. Serious God given choice monitored within by God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit. Everyone is judged as well how they treat the plants, each life, each blade of grass, every one to be used only for food, only grown if needed. Never grapes used. Priests remember, Catholic especially, and others that still practice this. Grapes are not allowed to be used to turn into wine that has alcohol in it. The grapes are valuable on earth to be grown, have their own God given choice. Dignity, a valuable life that is referring to, respected has to be for all their worth. Every cell, living cell they have to be only grown the plants and removed for purpose of nutrition benefit for others. Other human earth angels, animals, all on earth only to benefit. Grapes that will care respectful of their health. The choice of these is of these fruits, the grapes. Cannot be grown in a vineyard, orchard, anywhere by any human with soul to tell to farmers, the priest job, or whoever orders if they get wine, if it's still practiced on earth in religious worship practices. Catholics mainly know of other ones, I'm not sure if it is still practiced, but have chalices of wine for symbolic purposes. It is a disrespect of the choice God given of the grapes, a life there was grown and taken and then turned into an alcoholic, harmful to human health, poisonous substance, put in a chalice, not properly sterilized with germs of a human priest that is not respectful of the health life of the choice of these grapes, the valuable life that God created, monitors within, loved into existence for a purpose. The disrespected the choice of these grapes to be used for their organ cells, turned into an alcoholic, harmful substance, and wasted, with a priest breathing his own germs, and a child is not properly sanitized, and with gold, harmful to other human vision and his own, and mentioned for symbolic purposes, holding the chalice in front of others, misinforming hundreds to thousand trillion people over centuries, many trillions of priests. Humans that have to respect God and those that raised them in all the years, and can only mention sacraments and blessings on God's in God's name, prayers, offerings for others, counseling, use their virtues, talents, only if they respect the grapes themselves, physical health, all nature, close the doors to harmful to health worship places. If they respect God's day of holy rest to rest on Sundays and promote it to others. Humans have to rest on Sundays, Saturdays. They work mostly all week. Friday night have to physically rest. This has to be promoted to all. Not all priests were doing for centuries. Worship Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican ministers. They were taught this throughout the years, had to respect all, made money, paychecks, but sinned within them, monitored by God, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, judged by all three. Any conscious thought, action when they chose and accept the job but failed to do everything they know to do in that job description were raised and taught they cannot say they're not. If they consciously chose and did all these things and misinformed others and learned from them anything harmful to health and they knew, they committed grave sins against themselves and resulted misinforming others and bodily harm to others. These humans have committed and listened to others in confessionals, doing sacraments, showing up, blessings, making pay, within not not asking and didn't seek the forgiveness of those that they sin against. Cannot go through mentioning any sacraments, anything in God's name, a blessing, cannot pray to God on behalf of someone else, cannot listen in confessional to someone's sins, to give them advice from heart soul virtues, cannot make selfless intercessory prayers for others with an unclean soul, brain, mind that they consciously knew not to and sinned against others. They have a final judgment already on the earth recorded in them, in their thoughts, mind, actions, heart, soul. If they don't rectify this on earth immediately, every second counts in living matter life. Their life affected others. God put them on earth with the talents. They could only use priest talents, praying, speaking, advice, giving what they learned. In respect of those that raised them had to keep in mind their mother. Everyone invested time and money. Those that educated them, they spoke an oath to God, sworn to the employer, out of over other candidates that they would do a proper job, to be a good physical example for others, dress appropriately, with clothing that circulates air properly, not harmful to human vision, with no harmful dyes, with not harmful big gowns weighing down their heart for an hour in a mass, mentioning useless sermons. We're not supposed to hold any chalices harmful to vision, gold. Offerings to not accept made for the gold chalices to purchase these from hard-earned money of poor human earth angels that could have used for food and their own lives or to help someone else. Do a merciful act when needed. To donate to those that have less. To not accept offerings in churches for buildings that were barely used money, poor people polluted on the way and harmed the whole environment, left crying trees, leaves, grass, have souls crying that they couldn't fulfill their purpose that God left them into on earth and they chose to do to release air for all the little ones. The little ants, their babies exist million seconds above and below ground. The all sea creatures, beyond trillions of them, require air even in the water above ground. The one in the wild, those, the little ones and the big ones, have the most kind hearts of them all, have actual virtues, gifts of the spirit, emotions, personality, soul, natural ability to die. These have limited reasoning ability, the animals, the farm animals, those in the wild, sea creatures, insects, and they need those to help them. These grass and trees, flowers have been damaged, cut, and stepped on, walked on unholy grounds, considered and stated holy, blessed in the holy name of God. That exists the loving, holy God, the Father. Keep in mind, this is a whole meaning of what this Holy Father is. Exists this entity in heaven with superior holy power and authority over all. Everyone is seriously judged and has been for since the universe was created. And those that failed and used the talents then and chosen not to and lied to employers were judged then. Employers didn't follow up to monitor the priests to see what they're doing online, their masses, the Pope. Every Pope failed for centuries in recent years to do their job in this way and have consciously not to do but didn't have sins against beyond trillions of people. Humans that care that God even took the time and put love with talents to be parents for others some million seconds, some throughout years after raise them, foster parents, take care of a loved animal, to buy them food, need their physical health to be proper, their vision to see, priests caring have a soul not to be offended by them wasting their time mentioning useless readings, not telling them to stop going to church on Sundays, to harmful to health buildings rather, kneelers with hard pews that are harmful to human buttocks area, this bottom of the spine, nerves, veins, circulatory system that limits blood flow to the heart and brain, and humans suffer and die. Some of them, or some have long-term health conditions, are poor, too tired, get up in the morning and going too cold, too warm, traveled to churches that the priest had to prevent for centuries. Some knew not to open the doors but did and make pay and cannot have serious criminal charges by law on earth, as any lawyer know, but the lawyers other ones did nothing to prevent them either. Lawyer, human earth angels, they all have souls, a life force, soul, emotions, virtues, praying abilities, raised by carefully selectivized parents too. Human earth angels, gifts by this holy loving God the Father true, put on earth in proper timing, could have acted. Those are raised other and selectivized other over other candidates. The health safety board members that go to the church to see that they're obviously not humane. It is not proper for humans to travel to in any of these ways that I stated for these reasons. It is not worth polluting, harming the whole environment in the world. Disrespect the choice rights of the beloved little ones, insects, animals, plants, lungs, brains, to be poisoned with gas fumes to travel to a worship place, church, basilica, mosque, holy sites, cathedrals, Islamic mosques rather, Jewish synagogues, Buddhist temples, huge buildings, never heated properly, proper not to human health or any living creature in any way, even ill insects. Physical health is damaged there, inside, outside, not easy to walk upstairs, harmful to health, to humans that are too tired rather, to travel there. On Sundays, God, the holy loving grace of God created humans, physical health to be proper human earth angels there for others, to prevent the health failing and suffering of what others don't deserve, using their physical health when temple, their body, that is physicality, brain, when it has enough nutrients, well rested, life force, soul, then a temple, this physicality is for, can only be used their gifts, virtues, God given talents, education, abilities, this other things to that God gave them carefully selectivized different than everyone else and put them on earth to fulfill their destiny purpose on earth, to be aware of others, considerate of others, when physically healthy, well rested, then can do merciful acts of kindness and compassion using the virtues selflessly without expecting a reward or anything in return, to prevent or relieve the suffering of others of God's beloved creation with living cells, Grass trees never pollute them, never spend poor hard-earned money on remember gas stations have harmful toxic chemical fumes. Never to drive a child and any one individual, especially disabled, suffering something to a church to and harm result. The environment all plans with these lives against their God-given free will of choice, that they choose not to be harmed this way and have a right to be respected for their God-given free will of choices, their God-given dignity, that is a valuable life for all their worth. These ones love all humans and living creatures and have a right to be respected that way. For their physical health, each blade of grass, palms, on Palm Sunday, to never be ripped out of the ground and killed, harmed, for the purpose of being burned into ashes. No one has a right to take palms of living plants out of the ground on holiest season and ever to against their free will of choice. They have rights, God given choice. Everyone has to fear this holy loving grace of God, respectful of God given choice of these palms, plants that release air for others. They choose to do, are created that way. Those that grow them, farmers, property owners, have to put proper fertilizer to grow them so they live and respect their long rights, rather to respect their right to live a long, healthy life, their entire physicality, every whole blade of grass. These palms have a right to live a long, healthy life in enough sunlight, enough fertilizer, with enough soil, with enough vitamins and minerals, amino acids, water, and anything they else require proper enough oxygen in warm normal temperatures to function their cells, living organic cells with a life that belongs to God, monitored within. Nothing has the right and knows not to consciously to harm them, to result it cause bodily harm to these palms. Any other blade of grass, any grass on church and holy properties, blessed in the holy name of the Almighty, holy loving grace of God the Father, that exists, real in heaven, Jesus Christ, his Son, that casts the final judgment on everyone, who died and suffered, rather died and went to the heaven, exists with more holy powers and authority in heaven, that everyone is required, including priests especially, human representatives of God, the holy loving Father, his true words, definitions of entire sentence, of meanings of each word, used for proper reasons in proper context, and always, especially when referring to exact laws and rules. Clean minded, good, right, just, morally right beliefs, an individual that is consciously thought of and respectful of those that are raised and taught to keep these in mind and to promote these to others, this human representative of these, a human earth angel, priest, minister, the Pope, those of all other religions, nuns, monks, evangelists, prophets, all have to respect on the earth these at all times, keep up to date with modern all health safety basic laws. The boards respect the laws, the same on earth, remember, are legally binding on earth and in heaven, in effect immediately. No one gets away with anything. No one is allowed to disrespect any of God's rules. They cannot disrespect their own health, life, safety, and welfare, physically, emotionally, the God given dignity for what all they're worth, all that they are made up of, and the right to be treated ethically right in all ways. The right to live a long, healthy, physical life emotionally in all ways, as all years that they can. Their rights God given for this. Their God given choices that act in the best interest of their own health, life, safety, and welfare, of their whole physicality and all that they're made up of: brain, mind, emotions, thoughts, God given talents that, remember, God carefully chose, took the time to select, to give to this individual. The carefully selected by parents, human earth angel parents, to have this child that get along with this child, and teachers in proper place, and worship leaders and others, medical staff in proper city, place, and time born, to be there for these religious worship leaders that work well, especially the Pope, with the world leaders and others in other offices, other job titles as well. Every human and employers of these have to follow up and assess these individuals, the bishops, archbishops, cardinals. The Pope has to do his job and view online. Go to each archdiocese site, bishop's site, and follow up. This is key to being proper human representatives of the holy loving God, the Father Himself, in human form. Respectful and practicing fear, remembering having that this holy God is a just God, but severely punishes those who consciously think of and disrespect all that raised them through and accept a job as a priest, minister, pope, and any other job description that affects not even one, but especially those of trillions viewers such as the Pope, humans with souls, lives, emotions, trillions of beyond more different types of human earth angels viewing animals, others with a life and soul. Their life affects another life. They might be parents taking care of the plants, gardeners, farmers, all these veterinarians take care of these. Remind those who can be trained to take care of insects. They have little ones. Don't walk on the grass. Promote this. Everyone to help these priests collaborate during the week. All the information I carefully selectivized as a human, a victim, seeing this on the earth that has been neglected, these jobs of these priests, popes, ministers, and all in the world, of all different religious worship leaders doing harmful to health religious practices that were never required by God for them to practice. Someone might have started years ago, not neglecting to think of it harmful to the health, but as more humans were educated, everyone in seminaries is mandated, and throughout elementary, high school, those parents know that are humans gonna have a child they know to raise will chooses to be a priest, minister, pope, a Jewish rabbi, the Dalai Lama, any Islamic religious worship leaders, Protestant, Presbyterian, Anglican ministers, Orthodox, Greek, Russian, any other Orthodox religion, any other nuns, monks, evangelists, prophets, any others that you know of our different religious worship leaders, spiritual guides, counselors, the Pope especially, those in office of spiritual affairs, exorcists, deliverance ministers, to make sure these humans are help these priests by those that know more biology, to be taught these parents to invest time to only teach, invest time to carefully selectivize teachers is easier online. viewable material that the individual only needs, that individual, the little kind earth angel human baby, there'll be a priest, minister, pope to teach it and respect its rights, God given free will of choices to be healthy, taking care of, rested so it can be physically healthy, a temple, its body for its virtues, gifts, talents, speaking talents, have abilities to mention God's, promotes God's words, information about Jesus, and his physically proper example and use of gifts, virtues to selflessly help others, to prevent and relieve the suffering of others, doing one of the seven or more spiritual or corporal works of mercy, not expecting a reward or anything in return, from the kindness and compassion, these two virtues to use together with a selfless act is of mercy, to remember others, be aware of others, to help them in any way that they need, that they have talents put on earth for, that the other mother and everyone they have to consider raise them, teachers to put on earth for them, to help these little individuals, future priests, popes, and other religious worship leaders, and of others in job titles, especially world leaders, secretaries that work for them, doctors, all others, veterinarians. These little priests have to be very educated about health, basic anatomy, physiology, to promote physical proper health, a good example, properly attired in front of others, to teach them only this, what they are good at, purpose, and will limit, prevent them from being harmed, they're learning other useless information. They will be that much healthier all their life and be healthier that much longer living. That has to be respected, their rights and choices to live a long, healthy life, to use their talents they have, to be a priest for others there, to pray for others when physically healthy and well rested. Keep in mind, learning anything takes a lot of calories, strain on the brain, physicality, nervous system. If it's damaged and not have enough calories a human has, or not enough oxygen in a room to circulate in your plants to take out the breathed air, then a human is brain damaged, the physicality is harmed. If a human is not well rested, an infant especially, keep in mind, everyone is growing new cell organs since born till approximately 20 years old. It is not required to, not allowed rather, by God to be taught to an infant anything that they don't choose to learn that will not benefit their life. They are human earth angels with a purpose to understand the parents. God took the time, carefully selectivized the parents to get along with them to help educate in a certain place to become a priest, a minister that will be healthy, a good example, promote this and educated well about, have to be about basic nature, how it functions, its health, its purpose, as I stated, its rights, choices, through especially release air, take and breathe air, CO2 from the priest, every human, animals, pets, insects above, below ground, in the water, living creatures in the wild, affects the whole world. They have to be educated about this, their basic function, to promote it to others, to remind others that they exist and cannot be harmed with toxic gas fumes from gas stations on their property, lawns, can be neglected without enough fertilizer, vitamins grown. The trees have to be put in enough plants, bushes, flowers, and sunlight. They are there even for food for others, certain animals. All the animals that everyone has to be trained, priests to promote basically, and insects to remind humans have a brain, mind, life force, soul, natural ability to die, physical organs that have living cells. They have emotions, a personality that have to be respected. They cannot be frightened or offended, sin against in any way. They have to keep in mind, very important to promote by these priests to teach the children these who are going to be ministers, nuns, monks, world leaders, anyone and everyone, to the parishioners on each parish site, the Pope every week, to remind them that they need to care those who are trained, especially and pet owners, little kids, that these living creatures have to be respected and taken care of, helped by others at safe distance. Keep in mind everyone has their own bacteria, germs different than others, even though not ill, but might make someone else ill. To stay a safe distance away from each pet, animal, child, a meter, say and a half or two in case, but even if there's no COVID on Earth or other main virus or something going on in the world affecting others, this has not been promoted by priests and others in schools and everything for years. After the pandemics that resulted recently, in the world, it has to be remembered by these individuals, taught in every school level, at early level. These simple few things to the potential priests and of those of all job descriptions, parents to remind the individuals, them to be educated, to tell the priests, ministers, pope to put on the parish sites this main information so that everyone refreshes their memory every Sunday. In essence, a new holy mass that is not harmful to human health to travel to a church, a physical building, worship place, basilica, synagogue, mosque, any other of the Christian respecting other religious worship places, even in Jerusalem, that were traveled to and too cold to warm temperatures by those too tired human earth angels that worked whole week helping others, doing their job that the mother cared 9 months in womb to raise and father and before. Teachers and other raised for these individuals have to be healthy physically and well rested to sleep 8 hours. Sunday, Holy God's Day of Rest for this. Loving Holy God, the Father's Day of Rest for his little human earth angels with purpose. Priests to be doctors to help others. Have to brain body be rested. They're kind hearted, merciful, selfless beings, their souls, minds to be well rested physically so they can listen, use their virtues, gifts, talents that God gave them to help others. Obviously, selflessly without expecting a reward or anything in return. To be there for others, even so they are not alone. In a proper place, in a proper time, in proper timing to act, at the respect of others and the order of the universe, to keep in mind their life, one life affects another life and others, to keep in mind gas is very harmful, it doesn't disappear instantly. If inhaled to a human causes brain blood damage. A human is poisoned. Loved pets are poisoned and cannot seek medical advice easily. They have limited communication abilities. Same with the insects, might buzz, the dogs might bark, might they cry, have emotions if harmed, but they don't have the reasoning, thinking abilities to go get medical advice, go to get a call a doctor, say, or vet to get help medically. This is to be reminded of by these priests taught early on, even the simple information of a human to learn this, and could save years of studies to basically learn an educated human, especially at that level of a priest minister, to care online and be a considerate human. To be online, it's modern day, obviously. The parish sites, especially after COVID, and have gone entirely, and anything else that was a pandemic that resulted from on the earth. Humans have obviously in need of a priest, ministers, humans that will be physically healthy and a good example, to be on the sides dressed appropriately in a not harmful to vision. Black is appropriate, but make sure it is not the dress shirt is not a dye that harms their own circulation, the health. It's not too tight on the skin, on the wrist where the veins are. Not tight, too tight pants, any belt, part of the priest uniform. They're not too tight, misinforming potentially to others. Be mindful that humans are viewing them. Their purpose is to use their God-given talents when well rested, pleasant appearance, nice healthy face that they have, speaking talents. God loved them into existence, and their parents he thought of consciously gave them his gifts to help raise them, to teach them to be this way, and they have to respect to do this and only make pay if they do. Remember the nature plants, their choices, rights, dignity, mainly God given, and rights to live a long, healthy life, purpose to release air, take out CO2 from everyone that they breathe after using their muscles, brain and other functions essential to life on the earth of beyond the trillions of individuals, human earth angels, animal earth angels, those in the sea creatures in the sea rather, other bodies of water and rivers, ponds, and any other lakes, oceans. There are beyond the trillions of in the separate different ones with soul life, living creatures. They are parents to other ones in the womb and the eggs. They have a life that God monitors within. No one can harm them. No priest has a right to not do their job anymore. Once I have spoken, everyone is expected to act accordingly on the earth. Out of respect of me and the victims on the earth, those that knew all the years but failed to act properly as a priest, human representative of God, the loving Holy Father in his morally right ways, and rules, laws on the earth, words, a human educated and wise that can only do sacraments over the phone or save distance 2 meters away if needed to someone or online to remember to be safe to prevent spread of any germs, microbes, their own germs, bacteria from themselves to another human, to a love a pet of someone, to an infant. Priests are not allowed to perform any sacraments holy if they don't act according to what I spoke in this video. I, Angelica Jekela, am a human victim of it all. I am a real human earth angel. I am a humanitarian. I am acting because I'm a victim of every priest and others in the world, in every industry, and including those in heaven, those that some reason failed but cannot to do their job. In the universe, I am taking what I am a victim of personally as a human Catholic, but lived through and studied what I learned and poor worked to learn what basic human nutrition, further took the time to rest to learn this with others I seen, and barely I got a job. Cannot were not taught or didn't make it past high school to learn basic human nutrition, anatomy, basic and physiology further. I studied all life sciences, neurobiology, molecular and cellular biology, animal physiology, genetics, nature, and Christian studies. I have an honors Bachelor of Science in Life Sciences and Christian studies, that is, Christ respecting studies. I studied the world religions and the main proper scholars early on that were respectful of God and his morally right ways and laws, Jesus Christ that exists, and the Holy Spirit. respectful of the Holy Mary and those not those three previously just named, and Holy Mary and their authority in heaven that do exist with whole huge amount of holy power, supernatural actual power, supernatural pertaining to beyond nature. The the supernatural resulted holy loving grace. The out of the holy loving grace that is miraculous healings, miraculous protection is invisible to humans and all living creatures, but is accomplished when someone chooses by those only holy in heaven that have the abilities, reasoning abilities of the mind to think, other parts of the brain, intellect to think of, and to think when a human chooses consciously in thought and chooses to verbally communicate to accept miraculous healings, protection, defense of a human physicality, life force, soul, the rest of them, animals. These exist in the heavens, supernatural, consciously thinking entities. There are other stated angels, archangels with certain abilities of the mind thought that can think and have abilities of resulted miraculous healing or protection and defense and other abilities that God created them out of his holy loving grace, consciously thought of and chose to act. Had an sorry, rather he thought of this individual, an angel, a guardian angel to guard a soul, a physicality of his beloved creation on the earth, an individual different than everyone else, with carefully selectivized talents, gifts different than everyone else, to guard their entire physicality, soul, ability to naturally die, emotions, personality, praying abilities, gifts, virtues, functions, talents, praying abilities in thoughts, mind, heart, and soul from any moral wrong, any supernatural entities not respectful entirely of God's right rules and ways, but that are judged though, that cannot do anything to a human. Keep in mind any entity in the universe that has been punished by God. Punished angels termed demons, punished archangels termed archdemons, fallen angels or archangels. These all were created to do God's will right, but have been punished, cannot affect a human that doesn't choose to be affected by them. They have holy powers, protection, and healing abilities, supernatural, but a human has to choose to consent, consciously think of rather, and then to choose by God given free will of choice. Can't be coerced into and can't be forced to choose to be affected by these abilities of these punished angels or archangels or other entity that God actually created out of his loving grace, but punished for not doing a morally right job, not doing morally right in their own thoughts, or not respecting his right, good, clean-minded, morally right ways, laws, rules, words. These are to be restrained by God, have been cast final judgment at the foot of Jesus dead on the cross, who died, went to the heavens, and has superior power, authority over these punished angels, termed demons, and punished archangels, termed archdemons. The Holy Spirit has authority over these. Obviously, the Holy God first has superior authority over these and power. They have to respect God's rules, choices of others, God given, fear the Holy Almighty God, the divine, holy, almighty, loving God, the Father and Creator. Respect all others than themselves in all ways, their God given dignity, nature, all have a valuable life, souls, and physicalities, and all everything else about them that is for all that they are worth, their choices, to be respected, to live a long, healthy life, to fulfill their purpose, function on earth, to release air for others, taking CO2 from others. Those are the plants, vegetables to be respected, flowers might be beneficial nutrients for others, to have enough sunlight on them, enough warm, proper temperatures to function, their physicalities, as well as for respectful of all humans in all possible ways, and nature, the rest of it, all the water, the air on the earth, the land, the soil, and all other entities in the heavens, other angels, archangels, others with other job titles in the heavens known to those in heaven humans don't know of but exist. Consciously thinking entities that were loved into existence, consciously thought of first, rather than God had intent of and acted upon when He chose to create these with a purpose to do His right will. Morally right, with their own functions, purpose, abilities of mind, thoughts, reasoning ability of the holy in heaven, and knowledge to use for only morally right purpose that God created and commanded them to do in the universe to use. They are judged within and cannot do anything on earth to anyone that doesn't choose to be done to them, and God doesn't command for them to do to a human, one of His beloved creation, anyone on the earth, an infant, any of the beloved creation of the nature, the plants, earth angels, on the ground, above ground, the roots, then the sea creatures, those living little ones in the wild, farm animals, and not in the wild, in residential areas everywhere in the world, farm animals, birds, their eggs, the ones in the womb, all to be respected by these for all that they are worth, to be respected, their God given dignity, serious meaning, judged within each one, monitored how others affect others, and everyone judged separately all their life, the ones on the earth until they die. The priests have to remember this information and promote it to others, to those that need it when safe to do. Be very educated and wise, as if they were, when needed, the holy, loving God the Father speaking on earth in human form, promoting these things to others of His beloved creation. A human earth angel priest, a human earth angel minister, a human earth angel rabbi, human earth angel exorcist, human earth angel prophet, seer, evangelist. These are, keep in mind, humans with no holy supernatural powers, no abilities of mind, reasoning ability, information, knowledge of the holy in heaven that have more than humans. These are humans made of flesh. These are important terms with serious meaning, exact meaning with the definition on the earth that priests and all religious worship leaders need to know, nuns, monks, prophets, the Pope especially, is stated to be head of the Roman Catholic Church, but he is actually the head of the head number one human representative of God, the holy loving Father, the divine, holy, almighty, loving God, the Father and Creator, that created the universe that exists for all time, one God that consciously thought of, intended of, and acted upon by free will of choice to create every human earth angel, every natured angel, the plants, all other ones, the elements on the earth, which are very limited resources, especially water, the air, clean oxygen, air having to do with soil, requires vitamins, minerals, amino acids, other things beneficial to the life on the earth of living organic cells to exist, plants that are only to be grown, promoted by these priests, the Pope, only if needed. Their lives to be, when grown, to be respected. The plants, for benefit of others, food cannot be used for harmful substance to be resulted, especially yeast for fermented byproduct for alcohol purposes of beer. The remember the grapes cannot be used for wine. All of these priests have to, and Pope, remember to close all liquor stores, any alcohol stores, anyone trying to promote this on sales of purchase, advertising, any wine, priests, secretaries, anyone promoting this as well for the use of a parish mass to mislead humans online and those not to consciously cannot by law on earth, the same laws on earth and heaven do this. Have to respect bioethics laws, life respecting to be treated ethically in all possible ways, right on the earth laws of the valuable life of the grapes. Any other the the yeast, any other items used, the grains or certain ones that are turned into alcoholic substances as byproduct have disrespected the lives and free will of God-given choice of these living plants, cannot be grown for the purpose of use to be used turned into alcoholic, or there's from the plants a byproduct into alcoholic substance that is harmful to the health of other of God's beloved creation on the earth, that have a soul life force that has to be respected by all and judged within by God seriously, Jesus Christ even more, because no one can disrespect themselves, their physical health, and thoughts, intent, and actions, and then cannot intend and act upon to have even thoughts to sin against another of God's beloved creation, especially the little ones, the plants, the grapes, living cells, yeast, other grains, other vegetables, fruits. Bread cannot be purchased, offerings made to fund the bread production of the Jesus bread wafer. It has been disrespected, not individually wrapped, millions of bread items and on the earth when others are as well poor. Priests have to make sure that they stop production, all those that do, sales and promotion advertisement of the Jesus bread wafer and online. Take it away from all curriculums. Do their job immediately. The Pope, anything that is a sacramental, the human representative of God on earth, number one, the Pope, all other priests, ministers, religious worship leaders, any all another, especially Christ respecting religions, nuns, monks, prophets, evangelists, seers, these all Jewish, Catholic, mainly Roman Catholic, Orthodox, any other ones have to stop production of the sacramental, the religious relics as well. These the items themselves of stated holy water. The water is a limited resource on earth, only allowed to be used for those that need it. All living organisms need it to survive. Their body, flesh, humans, plants, living creatures, animals, insects, birds, all priests and pope and other religious worship leaders have to promote to others every Sunday, remind each other, and all parishioners, devout worshippers, respecters of God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit, with physicalities that belong to God, require water, clean on the earth, which is limited, to not be produce, purchase, use offerings of water, and to spread germs in churches that are mandated all closed because they're not proper to human health to begin with. Cannot be used by priests to in us during a holy sacrament, a blessing, a minister, the Pope, ever again. Jewish rabbis cannot use water to bless anyone. It is the meaning that a blessing counts in the name of holy God when a human consciously thinks of, has intent of an act to use God-given talents that God gave them, that others help raise them on earth, human earth angel parents, teachers, to think of and use these in the heart and soul selflessly, to speak these words in heart, soul, thinking, remembering that God is watching, monitoring their actions, thoughts, what they're speaking, what they use their talents, Jesus Christ and Holy Spirit within, if they act according to God's morally right ways and laws, being respectful of the God's defined laws, rules, bioethics, life respecting laws, respectful of other elements than themselves, the limited water. Holy oil is not holy oil, it's oil, limited only to be used properly, clean, sterilized for people to use when clean for cooking purposes, beneficial to human health or purpose they need on the earth. The surface themselves are potential for spread of germs, microbes, allergens, even from pet dander that animals lick themselves with proteins and some people or humans are allergic to. Allergens from seasonal allergies, molds, spores, dust. These items break down, keep in mind, oil and when exposed to air are mandated by a human earth angel, myself, Angelica Jekela, human, already over a year on earth, humanitarian acting in the best interest of all humans, animal rights supporter, promoter, and activist, nature, plants, and all other living creature and insects, and below the ground, above ground, in the sea, and all other living, in all other bodies of water, promoter, supporter, rights, activist as well. I am a real human earth angel. I am a victim of everything as I stated on the earth. that I have seen that they haven't included, they haven't done entirely their job, but morally obligated have to do on the earth to be respectful. And after trillion people kneeled and prayed, and this church is not informed, had no right to leave them alone for some reason, but did to do, myself included. A Catholic was human. Respectful am though of and God's holy right ways, laws, and rules. Practice and respect the holy fear of God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit. To fear them enough to do right, but be a good example, not to and to not to do wrong in any way in my thoughts, speaking, physical actions that I can best do as human. Out of respect of myself, mother, parents, those that raised me, taught me, my physicality that belongs to God, and those just mentioned, God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit that exist. To respect, I am of respectful of the bioethics laws, basically the life respecting laws, consider and be best aware of myself and that others exist, to not leave them alone. Do what I was educated, learn best I can, pour, to learn, to promote it to others. As to see what I was left suffering, a victim of all priests and everyone in every job description for over 42 years. That if did their job on earth as human earth angels, true, with true know that God bestowed out of His holy loving grace their talents to do their job. People prayed on knees, himself crying victims to see. Priests most didn't do their job for years, and trillions beyond more suffered on earth because of it, including mostly all the popes in previous years, and made pay. Our severely judged have not apologized to all the victims, have to on earth rectify it, go to confession, actually is most important, and their soul can mention anywhere, but rectify it as seek actual physically safe distance away online with the victims, parishioners. The Pope has to make a formal apology to all, and on behalf, if chooses, and of the other previous popes that failed to act accordingly on the earth, to set a good example physically, and that weren't properly attired at all times and still misinforming others, the current one, and those under them wearing items of clothing that and gowns and other ones in different job titles, archbishops, cardinals, vicar generals that are harmful to human vision, sensory organs that cannot be healed, the eyes, connected to the brain that controls all other physiological functions as well of other human organs. They have no right to disrespect when they consciously know not to. Someone to tell the Pope. There's trillion viewers, keep in mind, look up to the Pope every day. Go on Twitter, one of main social media sites, followers there, beyond trillions every day. His videos he put on major sites such as YouTube and other ones of the Vatican. Those employed under them are not dressed appropriately in proper colors at all times. The other priests, ministers, rabbis wearing big black robes covering the hair, leads to greasy hair, not enough oxygen on the head, harming the squishing the veins, heart, not setting a good physical example for others. Shouldn't be wearing these types of uniform or clothing, are not required by God to do, to wear anything and cannot that is harmful to themselves and misinforming others, that disrespects others, seeing them suffering wearing clothing that's too heavy, straining their heart and health that they cannot heal. Not only that, second, but its damage have resulted heart damage for life, poor circulation to the brain and other organs, breathing problems for life. The Dalai Lama sitting in cross-legged position, if he still does, has no right to do, and the little ones dressed in colored clothing that is problematic to vision Buddhists, others wearing and putting it online, Islamic people not required by God to count, to kneel number of times a day and bend on certain carpets purchased or expensive online on the ground to with harmful to health colored vision to vision harmful. Many robes clothing wearing in poor and some hot countries, harming their physical health, praying to Allah. Allah does not require a human to harm their physical health that way and misinform others. Their physical health is most important. So, priests, ministers, those in Islam, world religious leaders, you have to do your job. You cannot make pay if you don't. Please share to others, do a selfless, merciful act, or resign. And others will be hard. There are a few people left on earth with jobs as it is. They deserve the money if needed for shelter, what they need it for, pay, and actually will do a job that will be proper of a respect of a holy loving God the Father that carefully took the time to select them as to be a human representative of God, of Him on the earth in human form, that cares enough to be educated to respect their family members, the mother, 9 long months, cared for the health to be healthy, to promote this to others, to act, then can only use their gifts, virtues. The religious worship leaders can only pray for others. Selflessly, intercessory prayers can mention only to God in confessional booths, to listen to others on behalf on God's side, to mention any advice to others at the respect of God and Jesus and Holy Spirit. Their physicality is judged within. They cannot perform any sacraments if they have already committed any sins against someone else. And they don't formally apologize, rectify, seek forgiveness from the three holy in heaven and those that they actually offended on earth. If they misinform no not to people and go on with their lives, they couldn't. At the respect of trillions that kneel like myself, praying victims to see and pray to heaven for proper priests for years, and popes and those of all religions, the worship leaders to do a right job to set good examples. Obviously, the whole world has not done their part. The heavens failed as well. Mine, unfortunately, prayers are blocked to heaven. Would have been accomplished. I seriously told them to do their job. But only I can do as human when I speak these words. I am a human representative of God, the beloved, holy, loving God, the Father, on the earth. I am a human earth angel. These are my words, a victim on earth. They put together 19 after years of studies. A religious practicer myself, learned through physical acts that it wasn't proper to my physical health and care to prevent anyone else's health from failing, from kneeling, damaging the knees, or never required any human to physically kneel to the holy in heaven, because they have to care for and respect their physical health, temple knees, and it's better to be healthy and never kneel anywhere, never sit cross-legged to meditate, pray, or better to stay at home safe with less germ spread and 1.5 to 2 meters away from humans, still COVID or not. Never accept any physical items of sacraments from a priest, anyone, especially not wearing gloves, a mask. These items are not holy. It is what human chooses to believe, respect of holy God, the thoughts in the heart, soul, and he accepted choose blessings from a priest far away or over the phone, online, safer that way. Not in a church ever again, that is especially with closed windows, harmful to health, human breathe the same CO2 and poison themselves and others. Holy water is not holy, it's water, not allowed to be blessed in holy name for purpose of baptism, any holy sacraments. Holy oil is not holy, is not allowed to use for confirmation and any other holy sacraments. It is not allowed to be blessed in holy name of God, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. Those any ashes are not allowed produced, burned from living palms. Candles are not allowed that are harmful to vision. Candles during Advent in any church for any reason. Not allowed to use matches, the sulfur chemicals that harm human health and result in flames that are harmful to human vision, and smoke resulted from them that harm humans are not allowed to be any longer produced, purchased for the use in churches or any holy sacraments. First, First communion candles are not allowed to be produced. They are harmful to human health and vision. White ones. White is harmful to human vision when viewed. Priests to remember to promote this. First communion dresses of children don't have to be invested to buy white ones. They could be safe at home and wear normal clothing and healthier. Save the money for food to help themselves to have a life, to save money for to help others if they choose at a safe distance. Priests, Pope, everyone mandated on earth keep your hands to yourself. Stay a meter and a half, 2 meters away for sure from other humans. Loved pets. Respect God. Your physicality belongs to God, all that raised you, the mother that cared for you to be healthy in the womb for 9 long months, father, their health they invested time before, during, in the womb you were, and after. Excuse me. Respect the educators, teachers. Put this on your sites, parish sites of all religious worship sites, the all religions, other non-religious sites. Information when it's safe, choose share to them, to all world leader sites, to the Pope, anyone with the most followers that need this information. Please do merciful, selfless acts. Act right away. You will save beyond a trillion people's health and lives. It is your job to do. You are morally obligated to act. I have already mandated stop production sales of all sacramental items, rosary beads, water that was termed holy water, oil, Jesus bread, candles, religious medals, medallions, anything that is a surface potential of spread of normal, even humus, micro, human germs, bacteria that is different in every human that's breathed on, viruses, mold, dust, hand sanitizers, degrade the items, anything that is harmful to human health that would spread on the surface from one to another, especially in parish worship sites that when we're open, we're not allowed to be open, and resulted in worldwide pandemics of humans affected by microbes that led to human suffering, health concerns they don't deserve, and died. Others still affected by health concerns, those that loved and respected God the most, Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. Pandemics resulted because the priests, ministers, and all on earth didn't do their job. The parishioners, the Pope, and the world leaders, medical staff, lawyers, human earth angels trained. God allowed them to put on purpose for proper reason. With the talents, and after 20 years of studies, chose stated that they would do a proper job but failed and can no longer do. So remember, anything that is harmful to your physical health, put it on any sites you have. You could put it on your own. Please do in a YouTube channel, My Words. Put your own version with exact words, though these are carefully selectivized words of a human, well-rounded, stated of on the physical side, educated of health, anatomy, physiology, a victim of all fields and industries on earth, not respecting my physical health, life, welfare, and safety, including those in heaven, didn't protect me on earth as they're supposed to do. I have been affected by other things on the earth that I am victim of, and choose no one to suffer being affected by, and no one to be left alone. To remind everyone what they are on earth to do, that when they're physically healthy, to promote this to kids and teach only what they need so they don't suffer starving in school long hours learning useless things and brain damage, then I don't have proper health to do what they choose to do on earth. That they God carefully selectivize them with talents to give the love them as human earth angels, even in womb, already have their mind set brain to learn little human kind earth angel human babies. Then the parents carefully selectivize its gifts for them. They help to take care, have to make sure they have proper these days teachers online. Good stay home rest so the air circulating in room from plants. Take out the CO2 well rested, learn well fed, be well rested, learn what they need to do, write the notes, and then only teach them what they choose to learn. Especially those gonna affect many people. To view them the priests, ministers, world leaders, religious all worship leaders, the Pope get this information, please, too. The Dalai Lama, they have their most sites on Twitter, fan pages, Vatican site for the Pope. Everyone to remember to respect all of God's beloved creation. Everyone is one of God's beloved creation. While alive on the earth, when they die, all supernatural entities or created on God's right side exist in the heavens, those punished in the pit. Everyone is judged continuously throughout their life and have to fear the holy God exists to do right what they are chosen. God selectivized for them to do, but it is their choice to do it. If they don't choose to do a job or choose and not gonna do a job, then employers please follow up with all employees, priests included, and monitor church grounds closed that are harmful to health in many ways. Physical health, stop pollution, poison of harmful chemicals, gas, waste of human money to drive to churches, parish sites, even holy sites in Jerusalem. Plane travel limit to only those that really need it for miracles. Everyone to do their part. Human earth angels. God, the holy loving Father, exists in the heavens. Have to be respectful of Jesus Christ. Respect his example, he said while alive. In all the ways I stated, all disciples are followers, his friends, all humans that choose to be worship, respect, and practice reverence of God. Remember, live your life on earth, health first. If something is harmful to your health, religious practice such as sign of the cross, which is very harmful, putting hands together, palms never do, holding a rosary never do, kneeling never do. If it's harmful to your health, gowns heavy, priests, ministers, others, never do it. You have no right to disrespect God, your physicality, those that raise you, others that see you, especially on sites, holy masses. Dress appropriately. Only mention what is informative. promote these online in short sentences that everyone is to be healthy, do their job God bestowed gifts upon, can then use, do what they can safe at home, promote these on Sunday, new holy masses, short ones. When humans well rested, stay home on holy God's day of rest. To rest their human earth angel physicality, will be healthy before another school work week, and can physically accomplish not too tired and healthy in a clean air environment and not polluted, damaged trees, plants, and release then happy have their purpose to fulfill their destiny, release air for everyone, children, everyone, insects, animals, birds, other plants, clean water, the no be no acid rain, everyone will be healthier, then everyone will be physically there for someone, not alone, anyone left. Everyone remember to do their job that God gave them gifts. If you know you won't accomplish it, don't accept the job. There are other people put on earth and choose will do the job and will help others that and others need them to help them. You cannot make pay, obviously, for doing something to sin against someone else, not doing your job you stated, and make money for it. Priests, ministers, rabbis, everyone else. Don't harm anyone's health. You have no right to do. If you do and you know not to, you commit sins. You cannot do any perform any sacraments, blessings. You cannot go into confessional, hear any sins on behalf of on God's side, Jesus Christ and Holy Spirit. You cannot selflessly pray for others. You cannot use your gifts, virtues, unless you're physically healthy and respectful of yourself, dignity, your physical temple that belongs to God, that is judge of those that raise you, mother, took time to care for your health and in the womb and others, teachers, educators, other religious worship leaders, spiritual guides that raised you, and the Pope. Pope Francis, any future popes have to do their job, see this video and others, and share to the world, act accordingly or resign immediately out of respect of themselves, the mother, father, those that raised them, holy God, Jesus Christ that exists, the Holy Spirit, others that mentioned in holy names of Holy Mary, did things they cannot do, blessings when they didn't formally rectify with the victims on earth what they had to do. Made pay and used the gifts that God gave them others didn't have. The Pope and other previous years and all world religious worship leaders and committed sins recorded in them by God till they die and have to rectify on earth immediately with all the victims apologize before they can practice any physical religious worship practices of spiritual blessings advice on God's side, and cannot make pay until they rectify this. This is Supreme Court in session almost all the time of God on the earth, of every human, are expected to obey God and his morally right ways. Respect Jesus Christ that casts the final judgment on all and the Holy Spirit. If they don't anyone rectify it with all beloved creation and you and the grass and everyone to apologize, they list hear this, the grass, the life spoken to, they grow, they have to be respect air. If any priest didn't close any doors and still and result in poison of grass that doesn't go away easily. The grass, keep in mind, plants don't take in poison from gas fumes. They are harmed. Animal lungs, human brain harmed for life. No one has a right to not close the doors of every worship place that I have seen that is harmful to human health, that requires human to drive and pollute environment. For a few minute useless, almost not intelligent words of sermons, to a building with no air and candles, fumes, loud organ sounds that harmed humans with damaged knees on wood and kneelers, big doors split apart the skin organs, on the way there and result in no health, human proper benefit at all, almost for many centuries, of those most devout, respectful of God, that loved God the Father the most, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. So, priests and all ministers and all religious worship leaders and the Pope, you have been mandated on earth by God, the divine, holy, almighty, loving God, to do your job in all ways Angelica stated. Be respectful of all yourself and all the ways, dignity of yourself and others. In essence, don't make your mother cry and those that raised you for 20 years. And God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit, only perform blessings, sacraments, prayers if you're a physical good example, respectful of others. Promote in holy masses what is respectful of health, to be well rested, and then use of virtues to selflessly help others safe at distance or online. Promote, remind of people that are in wards and others that need help, safe distance, selfless acts to be performed. Remember, the world leaders have budgets, promote that. Humans can easily, by bioethics, human dignity, and other dignity laws, to tell to the world leaders for proper funding for medical care, enough to respect their health, life, safety, welfare, dignity of disabled people that cannot work every day, rights for basic necessity funding, medical care, free masks, and anything they need to live a proper quality, healthy life. And for animals to respect nature, to remind humans need to take care of them as they can. And everyone to remember when they're healthy, then they can use their gifts, pray for others, use their talents. Teach the children only what they need. Don't teach anything useless you have no right to do. You have criminal charges against them if you do. And sin against God, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit, and you cannot. They are human earth angels with a purpose. Priests and everyone promote this. Be up to date with what's going on current in world that might be harmful to health and inform parishioners. Christ and all God and religious and not believers. Is your job on earth to do. God, the loving Father, representative, human on earth, speaking in God's name only if of pure, clean mind, heart, and soul, proper physical example, properly attired, considerate of others in all ways that they rightly deserve, respectful of them. Promote this to others, those that raise them, to remind it of humans, to respectful of that, the nature, the rest of the world, those in heaven, and everyone to rectify everything on the earth while alive before they die. They are judged all their life if they don't have severe just punishment in hell after they die, and including the religious worship leaders and the Pope and previous ones, world leaders, medical staff, lawyers, anyone who failed to act according to God's right, morally right ways, and had God-given talents, is seriously judged to have to use them and didn't do their job, and others were affected negatively and didn't rectify it with the victims to apologize, seek their forgiveness, and the Holy in Heaven Trinity have severe punishment after they die. It is recorded in human if they don't rectify these on earth all their life until they die. By the heavens, no one gets away with anything. So, if it's harmful to your health, then don't do it. Be a human earth angel. When healthy, well rested, do a merciful, selfless act from the kindness and compassion of your own heart and soul. Say these words to others. Watch it in parts. Share the words. These carefully selectivized words is my human gift to all that I want everyone to hear. So no one is a victim anymore. Everyone is healthy, happy, has someone there for them. The little ones, everyone to remember the life, the living, loved grass, trees, flowers, insects. Their little ones live every day, have a home, bring them food. The little ones, birds, can eat food what other humans eat. Anything human learn to share on parish sites, priests to put on, medical staff collaborate, help them to inform humans of helpful health tips every week to prevent their health from failing so they can do what their human earth angel purpose is on the earth. Remember those that train in the wild animals, farmers, grow only what you need, food, that is respectful of choice rights of the food to be prepared properly for humans to eat. Don't kill any more chickens. With a valuable life, they suffer crying emotions, turkeys for Thanksgiving, any holidays. Remember, respect everyone for all their life is worth their right to live a healthy, long life. Priests, religious worship leaders promote this. Save the health and life of chickens everywhere from fast food places so they're not sold there and harmed with anything grease harmful. They don't allow to be the chickens anyone with any greasy substance that will harm another human life. Their choice is to be respected even after they die, how their organs are used. It is already, according to animal rights, the laws, bioethics laws, dignity of valuable life, and for all their worth to be ethically treated. All the chickens, turkeys, all animals, especially young ones, lambs, the little eggs used for caviar, anything that had a life, buffalo, animals in any countries have emotions, soul, personality, are not allowed to be put to sleep and killed for the purpose of human food consumption. Unless one really needed people to stop, chicken wraps on all fast food places, beef, animals killed, pigs have a soul, emotions crying in places are not allowed to be killed all these years. It has been overdone. There are other normal vegetable sources that humans can internalize, obviously, on Earth. So, farmers, anyone who has animals there, and anyone trying to sell have been not sold in stores, loss prevention haven't done their job, managers clearly, in all food and main stores. McDonald's, other all major restaurants, fast food places have not always ordered a small amount only used for human consumption. Have their food went to waste. These lives were lost. Animals, chickens mainly, lives lost. Hot dogs from pigs. Main events, holidays, people eat burgers from the cows' meat, hot dogs from the pigs. These had a valuable life, even some might have infants. Chicken eggs are more useful for those that don't have the infants, are more valuable for human health than not to be killed. These animals, they cry. They have virtues, gifts, a soul God monitors within, are afraid, left in dark, and then put to sleep, knocked unconscious, that no one choose to live through, and don't deserve according to God, and then are killed. Their life lost, soul to heaven gone, and their organs used for food, not only always treated right and cry, they have rights to be respected for their food organs, to be used properly after by all, not cooked in proper grease and combined with other substances and then even thrown to put to waste because they purchase too many the sellers store food places of their organs. Everyone on the human, the priests, ministers, popes, Pope Francis, please do your job. I speak this all detail, but you can make shorter versions of each normal exact all sentences though. Please share to your parish sites, archdiocese sites. put together only what I can in detail as very carefully selectivized words of what is to be promoted by all religious worship leaders to remember they are human representatives of the divine, holy, loving God the Father on the earth. His words, with exact sentence, entire definitions to be used in proper context, especially his morally right laws and rules that are not can be violated rather, and cannot be changed, especially bioethics, life respecting laws of one of an, for an another, God's given dignity of each living creature, and the respect of one for another, a valuable life, the respect for all is worth to be respected by one for another and treated ethically in all possible ways to respect their physicality to function in normal temperatures. Those who can assist this so their health doesn't fail. Priests are promoted, world leaders, medical staff, put on parish sites, shared to other non religious sites as needed when safe. Everyone to share translate to those in other countries, the poor by right to know this information from all the priests and everyone. That is their job. If anything, learn this video and put in seminaries, and they will learn and know what their job is and don't have to go through lengthy years of studies. Other than what they can choose more info to learn about nature, anatomy, physiology, health, and spiritual side as choose. The priests, ministers, popes, lecturers, educators at all levels. I am a human earth angel. I have high rank in heaven on this earth. All my words are true according to my best of my human reasoning ability through life experience over 42 years and studies and personal experience. And I choose no one to suffer any health failing. Choose to remind everyone how to promote this, be physically healthy, then when healthy can use their gifts, virtues, talents that God bestowed upon them selflessly without expecting a reward or anything in return to help others, to remember others so no one is left alone. All the little ones, big ones, all care, love each other, are put on earth for a purpose. Their choice is to be respected, God given rights, dignity, to live a long, healthy life, to use their selves to be respected for the fruits, vegetables, and animals only when needed. Choose to respect their choices. Everyone to respect their morally right ways, their mother, parents, those that raised them. Everyone is then not left alone. Everyone is loved, respected by all. Everyone then has clean air when they never go to church. Simple. Prevents pollution, poison of all grass that releases air for everyone, takes out breathe air from everyone and everything. The buildings, worship places are too harmful to human health, are deemed closed, forbidden to be gone to by God unless turned into a proper safe place or needed for holy safe haven for a human at time. Everyone to be a human earth angel, an animal earth angel, insect earth angel, a priest, religious worship leader, pope earth angel, world leader earth angel, everyone and other ones to care for those that respect the heavens the most. But remember, anything harmful to health is not allowed to be done to disrespect your physical health, temple, physicality that belongs to God. Then only when you're healthy, well rested, and a good example for others, then you can mention worthy to be rather worthy of respecting of mention to God, the holy loving grace of God the Father, Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit, and the holy in heaven that exist with authority in heaven over all, everyone to be human earth angels, selfless, merciful, benevolent beings. Do what they can with the talents, virtues, praying abilities to be there for others selflessly without expecting a reward or anything in return. Do what they can to prevent or relieve the suffering of others as needed. Make their lives easier to live. Bring happiness to their health, lives, and soul. Makes them healthier. Bring joy to their hearts and souls. And transcend, bring heaven on earth to them. While they have only one life to live on this earth, as they rightly deserve. Please share this video to all and restore heaven on earth to all, and everyone will be healthy, happy, and have someone there for them and live to their heaven on earth as they rightly deserve. Please see the Earth Angel Help site that Angelica Jakela made, and please share to all in the whole world and translate the true words according to God that I best wrote or spoke on earth that cannot be lost. And please share to all in the world that need it, and there are trillions of people on earth.